Hey all my friends and movie maniacs out there, Mark the Movie Man here. It is the final cut, and it is May, and May begins with M. What else begins with M? Monster, and who's our favorite monster? Godzilla. Yes, Godzilla. There's a new Godzilla film coming out at the end of the month, and I got this crazy idea to try and review every single Godzilla film in the franchise between now and the premiere of Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. Yes, I know it's crazy, but I am going to make the effort to bring to you my thoughts on each of these films. Now, I may not get one out every day, but I will review all 31 films if all possible. So let's start off with the very first one, which is Godzilla, which is 1954, directed by Ishiro Honda. The American version would come out later under the title Godzilla King of the Monsters, but this is the original one we're referring to here, where we get the story of a creature, a gigantic monster who was created from American nuclear testing, and we see what happens when this monster is unleashed upon the country of Japan, and namely the city of Tokyo, and we watch how the scientists try to figure out a way to defeat this monster before he lays waste to the entire city and possibly the country. Wow, man, when I first saw this film, I still really enjoyed it. You know, I mean, obviously, I saw it when I was very young, but I loved it. I loved the Godzilla monster. I loved the themes that were going on in this film. Really, everything about it. For 1954, this is a very ambitious project, and I believe the most expensive film up to that point that had been produced in Japan. So, you know, there's that. They had a lot riding on this, but man, you can really see the effort put into this film. Now, of course, the Godzilla suit has changed over the years, but this original suit is pretty doggone scary, let me tell you. I really enjoy the design of the creature here. You know, his look, the teeth, of course, the fire breath in here, the signature atomic breath, which, of course, is always deadly and a little scary. And I love the use of the miniatures in here and him tromping through, and how they mix that in with live action, especially for 1954. Looks pretty doggone good for that time. And man, that had to be a blast to see this film on the big screen at that time when it first came out. I would have loved to have seen it that and seen the audience reaction. Now, the cast that they have in here is fantastic as well. A lot of veteran actors and some newcomers as well. I apologize ahead of time. I may murder these names, and I will try to pronounce them the best I can. Takashi Shimura, who plays the Dr. Yamane, who was in Seven Samurai. I loved him in Seven Samurai, and then within the span of the year, he's in this film, another big film. And I loved his doctor, who's just trying to figure out what to do about this monster, while also dealing with his daughter, who is having a few troubles of her own, not of monstrous proportion, but more of troubles of the heart. See, Amiko Yamane, who's played fantastically by Momoko Kochi, who would show up later in Mysterians and Godzilla vs. Destroya. She is in here, and I loved watching her performance in here as a woman kind of torn between two guys. Her friend Hidito Ogata, played great by Akira Takarada, and also the Dr. Daisuke Hirasawa, who, he's a really smart, dark, but brooding and recluse scientist who may have the answer to taking out Godzilla, by the way. And I just love the relationship that they had between these. Dr. Shirasawa is played by Akihiko Harada, and I hope I pronounced that right. And man, I loved him in this role. This guy, he felt like almost like a character from a Tim Burton film in some ways. Now, he's a veteran actor who was in Samurai 1, 2, he'll show up in Rodan. He was also in Mysterians and will show up later on in another Godzilla film. So, a lot of veteran actors, some new ones mixed together, everybody performing well and selling this concept of the monster, which is very important. You know, this film is dark. It is meant to be scary. And I think there's some tense moments, and it is still kind of effective today. Now, the sound that we get for Godzilla in here, a little bit of trivia here was from rubbing a coarse resin-coated leather glove up and down some strings on a contrabass. Go figure. And then it reverberated, and they recorded the sound. Another thing is George Lucas says the miniatures in here inspired his use of miniatures in Star Wars, and you can really see that in here. And it was also a story that was inspired by a real-life incident when a Japanese fishing boat got too close to an American nuclear test site. Now, some folks have equated Godzilla and as his behavior and everything, not so much as meant to be destructive, but kind of like a soldier who is lost and he's wandering, suffering from PTSD, after the World War II, because World War II was still fresh in the minds of many folks in Japan. And so here you come out with this film that really has a lot of similarities to the destruction and such that was faced during the war. So you can imagine it also hit home emotionally for those folks. For us today, it is a classic. You can see why it's a classic, and it must be seen. Now, I recommend the Japanese version and not the American version. The American version with Raymond Burr is okay, but it really chops up this original. They add a number of scenes which I'm sure today some folks would have some serious issues with, and it just doesn't fit right. You can feel like it's inserted, and even Raymond Burr feels like he's kind of going through the motions in it. So of the two, I really would recommend the original over Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's a better put together film. The story plays out better. There's a lot more scarier moments in it. And overall, I think it is definitely worth your time. And you can see why people are still talking about it today. So there you have it, folks. Our first one down. We only got 30-some to go. So stay with us. I hope you enjoy this series. If you please give your thoughts on this classic, how you feel about the 1954 original Godzilla film, and we will be back again with this special series talking Godzilla Raids Again. So stay tuned, Movie Maniacs. Thank you so much for watching and your support, and until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.